Hi, I'm Beth Neville, and this is Art and Life. And I don't know about you, but oh man, I would really like to have some people around me. I love my husband. Hi, Robert.
Hello, how
He's
are you?
behind the film again today, and thank goodness I've got somebody to help me get through life and help me with my art and life, both together. So in so many ways, we're all, not all, but many of us are very fortunate, even if we feel anxiety. So the goal today is to take your mind to a different place and think about something creative and something you might not ordinarily get involved in. And as this series goes on, I've realized that a lot of people are just watching it for the interest and not necessarily because they want to do the drawing. So I'm going to be a little less technical about exactly how to draw something. And I'm going to be a little bit more maybe theoretical about it so that it might have a broad appeal. What I want to do first is to go back over the series so that those of you who missed the first artwork might be interested in reviewing and going back and looking at some of the earlier ones. We spent quite a bit of time on how to draw daffodils and how to paint them, how to paint the backgrounds and so on. So that's a couple of lessons. And then actually we started, those of you who've been following me here, remember that we started with crocuses, and I have some wonderful crocus drawings that some of you emailed to me. If you would like to email your efforts to us, that would be very interesting. I'm happy to comment on it. So think about that if you are actually interested in doing artwork. Then we moved on to circular perspective, and we discussed the basic ideas behind a tomato can, and we talked about the horizon line, eye level, and things that are above it and below it. We had a very interesting discussion about how you spell ellipse. And thanks to Tom Pilla, we now know that it has, how many L's, Robert?
2.
2 L's. Thank you, Tom Pilla. Solved a little marital dilemma. So that discussion led to drawing a glass filled with water with a daffodil in it. And that was last week, which led to a very complex problem that I did not completely solve. And that was how to draw a glass that has a crystal indentation in the bottom. So now today we're going to continue with the last thing in circular perspective. We have the daffodil, we have the tomato soup can, with a glass full of water. Today we're going to take on a very popular topic with amateur painters, both oil painters, watercolor painters, and that is how to paint a lighthouse. Now, I received a calendar this year, 2020, and it has a lot of lighthouse images in it. Like a lot of new calendars now where they don't want to spend a lot of money on it, all these photographs are cribbed from somewhere. So none of these lighthouses are identified. I find that really very sad. But we're going to look at one that I tore out so that we could use it as a demonstration model. This is a very famous lighthouse. I believe it's on the East Coast, and I'm sorry that I cannot identify it. Maybe some of you will recognize it instantly and say, oh yeah, I remember that lighthouse. We sailed around it many times. If you know what it is and you want to send that information on to the Milton TV, Milton Access TV, I think it would be nice to know the name of this lighthouse. Now, I chose this image for a very special reason. As you can see here, there are many, many lighthouses to choose from. All right, I chose this one because it clearly demonstrates where the horizon line is. The horizon line is right there. That's where your eye, looking into the distance, would be, say, either eye level or where the ocean meets the sky visually. We know the ocean goes on and on. If you're have you flown over the ocean, you know that you look down on it and it seems all blue. But when you are standing on the shore, this is how it looks. Now, the reason I thought this was a particularly good example is that the lighthouse is almost perfectly lined up with the shore. All right, we're discussing the ocean, the line where the ocean meets the sky, and if you put a ruler on it, you'll see it's a flat line. In truth, it is not a flat line. Einstein proved that space and things have a rounded nature, so this actually has a slight curve in it, but as human beings we don't perceive that curve until we're astronauts going up in space. Then we begin to see that these things that we, for all humanity's time on Earth, thought were flat, are not flat. They're actually curved. The other reason I chose this is if you look at this flat horizon line and line it up with this white line, you're going to see that this line is almost straight across too. Why is that? That's because this is eye level. Everything below that line curves this way. Everything above that line curves this way. And it conforms to our sketch of curves, ellipses, which I have misplaced. Okay, teacher's having a lapse here, trying to find her diagram. Okay, here's our diagram. This horizon line is similar to this horizon line. So here's our lighthouse, okay? Our line here, lighthouse, sea line. Everything above this line curves this way, and everything below that line curves in the other direction. So let me see here. These lines are going to curve this way, this way, this way, and this way up here. But down below, they're going to curve this way. All right? Now, in order to make this hopefully a little more clear, I did a tracing of it. So I put a piece of tracing paper. Tracing paper is very helpful in understanding what's going on. If you remember last week, I used tracing paper to solve the crystal glass problem. And it's a little hard to see through this tracing paper, but you can see enough. So these lines above, again, curve this way, and very dramatic. By the time you get to where the actual light is, they really are creating strong ellipses. Below, it's not quite so obvious, but they do curve in the opposite direction. One of the most baffling things for students when they work with lighthouses happens up here at the top. It is, once you grasp the concept, it's not that difficult, but to get it into your head is kind of a problem. These are open loops. Think of a basketball loop, okay? Think a basketball loop, when you look at it, is circular this way. As you turn it, it becomes that elliptical shape. Inside the basketball hoop, a basketball can go down, boom, right through the hoop. When you're drawing a lighthouse, if you think of that basketball hoop, it may make more sense to you. Here's the hoop. Those are the hoops going around and around. They're actually the railings, right, on the lighthouse. Here see is it showing up clearly?
Yes.
Pretty good? Okay. So here's the railing going around. That's so that the lighthouse keeper isn't going to fall off. He doesn't want to be up there and, tumble off the edge, particularly if there's a giant windstorm coming on. So they're almost always in these old lighthouses is a cage or a loop, a basketball type loop, protecting the workers who are up there. So that loop fits around, think of it this way, all right? All right, use a tube of paint. Okay, here we go. Tube of paint, not a tube of paint, It's the lighthouse. All right, down? Okay, all right, here's the hoop. Here's the lighthouse. Inside that hoop, this ring goes all the way around the outside. So maybe this will help. Here we are. We're looking down on it. Hoop. Inside is lighthouse. All right? This goes around the outside. When you turn that up, it becomes like this. Here's the device, the railing to protect the lighthouse keeper. There it is. Inside that hoop is the lighthouse itself. All right? This is on the outside, that's in the back. So in order to make this work so that this comes out, you don't see this part of the hoop because it's behind the structure of the lighthouse. All right, and this is in front. This don't see behind, do see in front. All right? So that, and these lines remain more or less vertical. And I say more or less because they actually turn in a little bit, but that's so complicated we're not going to get into that issue. That's three-point perspective, and we're not talking about that today. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Take another look here. All right, here's the interior part of the lighthouse. Here's this where the light will be, and here are the double hoops of the railing, and that helps to hold the lighthouse keeper in so it doesn't fall off the edge. I think that's about all we can get out of this diagram. We're going to look now at another drawing I did this afternoon. I said maybe this will be more clear if I do an imaginary, made-up lighthouse. Now, is the whole image showing, Robert?
It goes down a little bit.
This way? Better? Okay. I realized when I was drawing it, it's going to be a little long.
Yeah, it's cutting off the top and the bottom.
All right, why don't you move, could you move the camera? It's so wonderful to be able to have a husband who's willing to move things around, and, you know, technically, I think it's such a help to be able to get these things straightened out. Okay, now can we see the whole lighthouse?
Right.
Excellent, great, okay. Technical difficulties have been conquered. Okay, so here's my imaginary lighthouse. Here is our horizon line down here. This is the water. See my little gaff rig sailboat zipping along there on the horizon. So this line right here, right there, is going to be straight because we're standing down here in the sand dunes, all right, looking up at the lighthouse. So that line is going to be straight. But after that, every hoop, every line, circular line, is going to get more and more bigger and bigger. The ellipse is going to be wider, I should say. The ellipse will be wider because you're looking up at it. But the other phenomena that's very interesting is the further away something is, the smaller it looks. The further away, the smaller it looks. So when the lighthouse is made, each one of the bands is the same size. But when you look up at it, this is further away from you, so the bands as you go up are smaller, they're shorter together. So you're dealing with two problems there. The increase of the elliptical shape and the decrease of the width of the bands because they are farther away. Now I tried to draw up here at the top. Is this showing up here?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're in good view here. Remember, I made this up out of my head. This is just, a classic symbol for a lighthouse. So here's the little platform in which the lighthouse keeper stands while he's tending to it, and here is the fence or the grid that holds him in. This is in front of the light. This is where the yellow light would be. This is behind, so it disappears. The hoops disappear behind here. This is another interesting phenomena. if there's a cap, a protective roof on the lighthouse, it also is going to appear as an ellipse and disappearing behind the lighthouse and reemerging in front. Now sometimes, to make things even more complicated, sometimes this roof will be segmented. It won't be a circle, it'll be like a segment, a segment, a segment. Now why? It's easier to make a metal roof, a flat metal, if it's in segments rather than if it has to be curved. So almost all the time on a lighthouse, this will be sort of faceted, this way, this way, this way, and this way. But the elliptical shape will still be there. It'll be just chunk, chunk, chunk. You know what it'll be like? Oh, where's my glass? All right, where's my glass drawing? All right, yeah, I know what it is. It's just like this. Okay. Remember, this is the bad version. Here's the good version. Okay. Remember I said I had a struggle up here with the flat flanges of the sides of the glass? Very similar to the lighthouse. Almost exactly the same. Flat, 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 and yet it does form an elliptical shape. So that is what I wanted to show you. Now, there's, with these images, I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're doing here with these images. What I've been talking about for the past, I think we're up to lesson 6 or so, is what I call precision drawing. Everything is to be analyzed and in terms of spatial relationships, and textures and volume, how things are refracted, how things can look indented, how a lighthouse can look tall, and all of these problems that are about precision. What I want to do now, though, is talk a little bit about what a lighthouse means, what it meant in the past. It was a way of saving people's lives, sailors' lives particularly. If you go down to the Cape, there's some wonderful museums built into lighthouses, and they historically tell you how many hundreds of people, sailors and others, died off the Cape in horrible storms. How many ships were lost to sea? So at that time, the lighthouse had a physical function of saving lives and trying to protect voyagers on the waters. So most of the lighthouses now don't have that function, but why do we preserve them? Why are they so important in our lives? And the reason is, I'm totally convinced, they're architecturally interesting, they're beautiful, yes, 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 all that, they're aesthetic, they're landmarks, they have history, all those reasons. But the real reason is because symbolically they're still a symbol for hope and a beacon of light that's going to do so many hopefully miraculous things for us, or not miraculous, at least give us some sort of symbol for safety and continuity. So I think like right now, in the middle of this virus, that the lighthouse is a wonderful symbol. So I looked through my calendar to see if I could find a very dramatic lighthouse, and we've got this one. It's red. Red is a sign for danger. Red also stands out very much. That's why stop signs are red. And you can see all the clouds gathered around. It makes it for a very dramatic photographic image. And I'm going to now try to show you another way of painting a lighthouse. And I'm going to use acrylic paint, which I don't ordinarily teach because it's very tricky media. One of our last lessons is going to be about acrylic paint. So we're going to we're going to take a brief pause, and I'm going to get my supplies out, and I'm going to show you a different way of painting a lighthouse with drama and as a symbol, and no precision. I've chosen only 4 colors. I really want to keep this simple. I've chosen a blue, that's going to be my sky and my water. I've chosen 2 kind of yellowy gold colors, There's a cadmium yellow. Oh my gosh, I thought I had two different colors, but they're the same one. That's all right, doesn't matter. Cadmium yellow, and then I've chosen a black. So the black is going to be for the clouds. Oh, and white. Yes, I have my white. So the black will be for the clouds, the storm coming on. The white is going to be for the lighthouse, and the yellow is going to be for the beacon. Now, I want to be very dramatic about this and not at all precise. So a good rule of thumb with most paints, and certainly with acrylics, is start light and go dark. It's easier to put a dark color over a light color than a light color over the dark. So therefore, if we're going to start light, we are going to start with white. That's pretty obvious. White is going to be the lighthouse. So where we use acrylic paint, you can tell I've been using this palette for, decades, probably before most of you were born. Well, not quite. Pretty close. So using my handy little stick that I use, I'm putting some white paint here. Put the top on right away because acrylic dries out by the time you look at it. All right, I'm not going to draw anything. Forget it. I'm going to make a lighthouse. All right, into the water, into my white paint. Lighthouse. All right, I know it's hard for you to see because I'm painting white on white. So here's my lighthouse. Okay, I'm not giving it a lot of plan. I'm being very, what they call expressionistic, very emotional about it. Okay, we're in the middle of this time, we're trapped. I want a symbol, a beacon of hope. I want to feel good about, feel better. So, what's going to save me? That beacon, that wonderful golden beacon. Now, I can add more white later, but do you see I'm kind of giving myself that sense of the curve? I don't know. Okay, here's the beacon up here. Yeah, we'll make this the beacon. Beacon, beacon, beacon. Okay. You notice we're not worrying about sand dunes or anything else. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay, now, next light color will be the beacon itself. So out comes the gold. This is going to represent the light coming out. Squeeze some of this into the tray over here. All right, wow, boy, an awful lot came out, but that's okay. Top on right away. Tops must go on. Otherwise they dry out, and that's the end of that paint. Okay, into the water, into the yellow. Okay, here's my beacon coming out, and I'm going to go right over the top because I have of the paper. I want it to go right off the edge. I have some white paper here. Okay, here's my beacon coming out. Here's a beacon. That's the shining of it. Here it is, beacon, light, and coming out. I have a feeling we're going to add more to this later, but all right, it's another line, wave coming out down here. I do wish I had two colors of yellow, but they're all upstairs in my other studio, and so that's not going to happen. Whoops, what on earth here? Okay. Go. Smash the paint. Okay, there. Sort of like my beacon already. Beacon showing up?
Yep.
Okay. Now, the tricky part here is, if we weren't doing this on television, I would let that dry a little bit, but because of the time factor here, we're going to move ahead. So I'm cleaning out my brush because I don't want all that yellow on it. All right. I'm going to go into the blue and some white, and I'm going to begin giving myself, I don't really have a plan here. Don't expect me to have a plan. This is how, interpreting on the spot, how this could go. All right, up here. Here's the top of our lighthouse. All right, let's give ourselves some, it's a wavy line. Up here it's nighttime. So, storm clouds, night. Maybe a little more storm. Whoa, I don't like that. All right. Oh gosh, I don't like that. All right. Oh man. I may end up painting over the top of that. We'll have to see. Or, once you get something like that, I find it's best, if you can't erase it, repeat it. Got that phrase? Can't erase it? Repeat it. Make it look as if you meant it. You say, oh, well, you see how I said at first it was a mistake? Well, I don't think it's a mistake anymore. It's not a mistake. It was a stroke of genius. Absolute genius. All right, now, no ego here, right? All right, okay, now let's get our black in here. That's probably going to finish out. We're painting with our emotions. We're not worrying about our, this is a nice new tube of paint. I think this is the first time I've ever used that one. So now we want to get the real, the real drama in here of, yeah, I like that line. That's going to make it look like a lighthouse. And I can tell I'm going to need a lot more black. All right, we're waving line because it was wavy before. Okay. Here's what's bothering us. Here's the virus down here. It's just bothering us. Okay, making our life more confusing than we would like. Let's just say that, all right? And of course, for those who are dying, more tragic, but okay. All right, we need black. Oh, wait a minute, there's a little bit more in here. Okay. All right, need more black. Okay, we've got to come in here with the black. Okay. Black. All right, we're going to go right out of the tube. Sometimes we have to do that. A little more water. All right. Okay, now I think what it needs here, yes, it needs a little bit of, I'm going to turn it upside down for you. I think that'll help you a little bit. Okay, I think this time it drip into the water and maybe, I've now added a lot of water to the acrylic. You see it's kind of more transparent because I've added water, and maybe up in here, a little bit more black, kind of coming over there. Whoops, I want it, see, I'm turning my brush on the edge. I don't want that, that's a mechanical line. I want kind of a drizzly line here. Oh, that's fun. Oh, look what's happening here. That's fun. Okay, oh, neat. All right, we're going to add some yellow down in here. Yeah, because that yellow will carry this yellow down into this area, which I think is important. All right, I know what else I'm going to do. Clean out the brush. In fact, I'm going to change, this is so important, I'm going to change brushes. I'm going to really, really apply paint, three-dimensional paint. I've got it all here, why not use it? Yeah, so the beacon is becoming like a three-dimensional shape there. Maybe even, let me just see if we need a little bit more yellow. All right, okay, I think that's it. I think we're done. There's my emotional lighthouse, and it's a beacon of hope, and there's no precision about it whatsoever. Okay, next week we're going to be on to a new topic. I can't remember what it is. All right, so this is Beth Neville. I can't remember what next week's topic is, but I hope it'll be fun. I hope you'll learn something. So Beth Neville, Art and Life, thank you to Tom Pilla, and thank you to Robert Neville for helping me with this project. Hope to see you next week.